Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Let's be honest, we're not all good at managing time. We waste it in so many ways that's not only bad for business, it's bad for ourselves too. Because at the end of the day, there's never really enough time to enjoy our own pursuits. Well, it doesn't need to be that way. Time management expert Christie suggests that we stop trying to manage our time. Instead, we need to think about time as an investment. In the business world, of course, time is money, and that's where the focus should be, so they say. Kate's written a book about it called Me First, the guilt-free guide to prioritising you. Because investing your time wisely at work will free up a lot more time to do what you want to do. Kate tells Heather Dawson, time really is a great leveller. We all have exactly the same amount of it. Time then to start using it wisely.
When it comes to running your own business and making sure that you charge what you're worth and that you spend your time where you need to, it's all around thinking about your time as something that needs to be invested, not managed. We cannot manage time, so let's start investing it. Start thinking about your time the way you think about your money, as an enormously precious, limited resource that you need to invest for the greatest possible return. And it changes your mindset. It starts making you more mindful about not wasting time, not squandering time, not losing time through procrastination, because ultimately your time is money.
So what are the three biggest time investment mistakes, however, that you see small business operators making when it comes to investing their time?
Look, I think there's a couple of biggies. The first one is that a lot of businesses, the business was started because the owner had, a fantastic idea for a product or service, and they're really, really great and clever around that. But they try to be the jack of all trades for too long. And one of the big mistakes I see in not investing your time well is not outsourcing early enough. Identify what you're great at, what you're best at, and often that is around the design and development and the marketing and the sales of your product or service. It doesn't mean you're a whiz at the numbers. It doesn't mean you're incredible at website and IT development. It doesn't mean that you are a marketing genius at the next level or that you know how to use Facebook and SEO. So identify your strengths, then outsource your weaknesses, and do it sooner rather than later. The second mistake I see is that business owners often don't have the right value on their time. So they might decide, if it's a service, they often charge by the hour. If it's a product, sometimes they'll charge lower than their next competitor and start competing on price. I think it's really important to use your time to identify your differentiation. What's most important about you, your product, your service? How can you charge differently? And invest some time in thinking about that. And it's all about outcomes. What outcomes are you achieving for your clients? The third biggest mistake, without question, is multitasking. And this is where, for better or worse, I think a lot of us feel that the more we do at the same time, the more we get done. And it's absolutely not the case. For our high-value tasks, our strategic thinking tasks, and high-value tasks are tasks which are at our skill level and which are revenue generating for the business or cost reducing. For those types of tasks, we can only do one thing at a time. Multitasking doesn't work. It will reduce your productivity by up to 40%, and it results in double the errors. It results in a lot of rework. And so, without question, multitasking, or the sense or the feeling that I'll get more done if I behave and act this way, is the biggest mistake I see.
Now, you can help us structure our day so that we make the most of our time, so we invest in it properly. How can we do that in a day?
So I referred a little earlier to your high value tasks. We also have low value tasks. So the low value tasks are tasks which are below our skill level or which are cost generating for the business. So the first thing I'd love you to do is get a really good sense of your own individual high value tasks and your low value tasks. And it's the high value tasks we need to prioritize. Then make a really terrific master to-do list once a week where you identify everything you need to do for this week. And there could be 800 things on that list. That's okay. All I want you to do is to pick the 2 most important high value, so revenue generating or cost reducing tasks for Monday. And then you're going to lock them into your calendar at the time of day when you know you're at your best. So if you're a morning person, you want to build a 6-foot high bulletproof fence around those mornings. And a lot of business owners will start the day, they'll check their phone, they'll jump into their emails, they'll cruise around on social media for a while, they might read the newspaper, and gets to about 12, 1 o'clock and they think, oh, I'll do some work. You've just lost the best part of your day. So understand what your high value tasks are, lock them in for when you have your best energy. Your best brain time should only ever be devoted to those tasks, and use those as deadlines. The power of a deadline is that it forces you to get the task done. Then Monday night, revisit your checklist, your to-do list, pick the 2 most important things for Tuesday, lock them in for your best brain time, and away you go. So that's the best way to structure your week and to batch chunks of time to get that work done.
Okay. Well, tell us about your 5-step framework for finding 30 hours of lost time a month. Is that really possible, Kate?
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And I promise you, Heather, I have never not found someone those 30 hours. So the 5 steps are really simple. It's an acronym based on the word SMART. So S is for self-aware, where you understand exactly what's getting in your way. What time traps do you fall in every single day? And it might be things like checking your phone first thing in the morning. It might be having your emails open all the time. And then in step 1, you also assess what your key values are. Where do you actually want to be spending your time? Because that's going to give you your GPS instructions, right? It gives you a starting point in terms of what's getting in the way. It gives you an end point in terms of your values and what sort of life you want to live. And the other 4 steps are kind of the roadmap that gets you there. So step 2 is to map your time in detail. So from the minute you get up to the minute you go to bed, just for a day or 2, because it's going to give you a really good indication of exactly where you're spending your time. Now, that might sound trite or, simplified, but essentially if you get to the end of the day and you think about, well, what did I do today? You'll have some standouts. You'll know, I had a lot of meetings and there was lots of phone calls, but you're going to forget all those little filler tasks. You're going to forget every time you were interrupted. You're going to forget every time you switch task. That's the stuff that I want to see, because that shows me how you're working in terms of your habits. Step 3 is to analyse, where you break down your time spent from those maps into 4 categories: your musts, your wants, things that you can delegate, and things that you can reject. And it's the delegation and the rejection buckets where you're going to find those 30 hours. Step 4 is reframe. So that's where you make the decision of exactly what you're going to be doing differently. What am I going to reject? What am I going to outsource? And step 5 is take control. And that's, where the rubber hits the road. That's where you actually have to implement on these changes you've identified. So it's a really, really simple process, but it's absolutely impactful.
Next logical question then, Kate. What do I do with my 30 hours once I've got them back?
Well, that's why it's all about me first. That's about doing all the great stuff. At the moment, when you look at your maps, there's probably a whole heap of musts in there and not a lot of wants, and I want you to use those 30 hours to invest in yourself. Work out your audacious 5-year plan, invest in learning and development, invest in stretching yourself, invest in a holiday. I don't want you to absorb those 30 hours into another 300 emails or another 20 loads of washing. You've got to really mindfully and purposefully say, I've got this time back. Now I get to curate the life I want to live.
That was Kate Christie, founder and director of Time Stylers. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.